Could use the Salesforce CLI if we want to, or you do it all this in Python too. But to query or create jobs, bulk export jobs inside Salesforce, and then get the data out. So I already have my little sandbox set up and loaded in some data here. And essentially what we're going to do is submit like a post request to the query endpoint here and specify the SOQL query that we want. So in this case, select ID and name from account. So here's the operation query and here's the query. So any SOQL query we could stuff in here, and we could also do this in parallel pretty easily. And then we just want to submit to the query endpoint. And then once you submit it, you can check the status of the job as it's running in Salesforce, creating all the CSV export files. And then once it's complete, then you can request the data, and we can request it in chunks if you want. I'll show that real quick. So first thing we want to do here is get my token. And then here's the query that I'm going to run. I'm just going to set the job ID to a variable job ID to what's in the header that comes back. Okay, and then you can see the job ID here. Job ID. Okay, all right, once we got that, like I said, you want to check the status. This is going to be done instantly. It's pretty fast. But if you had a really large export of millions and millions of records, obviously it's going to take a while for Salesforce to do that export for you. So the nice thing too is we're not using any of our kind of tokens for calling the non-bulk API. And I think it used to be maybe you can do like 1,000 export jobs a day. I mean, maybe it's more. I'm not sure if that's changed from when we were doing it at Looker, but you can see here the state's complete. Got 27 records, and now what we're going to do is just go ahead and get the records back in chunks of 5. As I mentioned, let's say your application or you only want to deal with processing 5 records at a time. You can set this max records here, and you can see in the query to get the result, you can specify the max number of records that you want to get back. So what we'll do is call this endpoint. We'll grab the SFDC locator out of the header, the response header, and then we'll just iterate over that until we get essentially a null back on the locator. So here, let's go ahead and run this. You can see here that we got the Salesforce locator is this NQ, and then the subsequent call, we basically just pass in the locator, and after we get the next 5 records, we set the locator to the next value that they send back until that's null. So here we'll go run this. There's 5. You can see it's MTA now. Here, MTU. So just keep going until this is null. MJ, MJU, and then null. You can see here, Salesforce locator is null. Got the last 2 records, and boom, we're done. Bob's your uncle. That's it. Pretty straightforward. We could Docker this really easily and throw it in Cloud Run jobs, and then orchestrate it with workflows.